Hi Year 1 learners and welcome to Lesson 61. Thank you for joining me. My name is Danielle. Now you may have joined me in Lesson 60 when we learned about the attributes of two-dimensional shapes, and we use these attributes to classify and name the two-dimensional shapes. Now let's remember together that two-dimensional shapes have sides, which are a line on the boundary joining one corner to another. So here we can see the side of the triangle. Two-dimensional shapes have corners, which is a place or angle where two sides meet. And here we can see the corner here. Now let's remember the names of some two-dimensional shapes. So this one here, do you remember the name? That's a triangle and it has three corners and three sides. This shape is a circle. It has 0 corners and 1 curved edge. This is a square. A square has 4 corners and 4 equal sides. This shape is a rectangle. Rectangles have 4 corners and 4 sides. Now, the opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. This is a pentagon. It has 5 corners and 5 sides. This shape is a trapezium. A trapezium has 4 corners and 4 sides. What do you think this one is called? Did you say a rhombus? A rhombus has 4 corners and 4 equal sides. A little bit like a square, but on a lean. And this is a hexagon. A hexagon has 6 corners and 6 sides. Now this shape is an oval. An oval has 0 corners and 1 curved edge. Finally, an 8-sided shape. Do you remember the name of this one? An octagon. An octagon has 8 corners and 8 sides. Well done. Now, if you joined me in Lesson 60, you might remember that we had a job to do for Mike Meerkat, and that was to create a beautiful piece of art for his shop. Now, let's have a close look at this beautiful piece of artwork. Now, what we were trying to do in Lesson 60 is we were using smaller shapes to join together to create new shapes. So I want you to have a look here and see if you can tell me the names of some of these shapes. What can you see? So down the bottom, you can see the 3 smaller triangles have been joined together to make a trapezium. The base of the house, we use 2 larger triangles to come together to make a square. And the door is 2 squares that have joined together to make a rectangle. Then we have a larger triangle for the roof, but the triangle we've used a few different shapes. We've used a hexagon and some trapeziums and then 2 smaller triangles to make the top. Then the chimney is a rectangle, and to make this rectangle we actually used 4 smaller triangles. And finally we made 2 clouds in the sky, and they are hexagons, and we've used 3 rhombuses to make those clouds. So what do you think, Mike? Are you happy with your final piece of art? Oh, he said yes. Thank goodness. Okay, now our learning intention today is to understand and describe 2- and 3-dimensional shapes. Now, you might notice that in my postbox I have some mail, so let's take a look together. I wonder who it could be from. Here's my name, Danielle, on the front. Let's have a read. Okay, it says, "Dear Danielle, I have some exciting news to share with you. So I am writing you this letter so you can read all about it. You know how much I love to live in the highest trees and see the world around me. Well, at the moment, my tree house is in the middle of the branches and I would like to be much higher so I can see what's happening around me. I think I know who this is from. I know that you have a lot of knowledge about shapes using two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional objects, so I thought you could be the best person to ask to help me. Can you please help me build a new tree house up high in the branches? I think the best way to do this would be to draw and design a tree house using two-dimensional shapes and then build a model using three-dimensional objects. Then the builders could build my real tree house based on the three-dimensional model. What do you think? Could you give it a go and help me build my dream tree house up high in the branches? I can't wait to see what you design for me. With much love, Lenny Lima. What do you think, everybody? Could you help me today? So to start with, let's remember the difference between two and three-dimensional shapes. So with two-dimensional shapes, we know that they have length and width. And when we are looking at three-dimensional shapes, they have height, they have width, and they have depth. So I'm going to use this grid paper here to have a go at designing a tree house for Lenny. So I'm going to use two-dimensional shapes to do this. I'd like their tree house to be raised up off the floor. So I'm going to draw a square here, a square here, and another square. Let's go here. Okay, then I want like the floor or a base to be up on top of the squares. So I'm thinking I will use, what's this shape here? It has four sides, but two of the opposite sides are equal. Do you know what that's called? Rectangle. So let's do another rectangle here. So that's going to be the base and the floor. Then we need to build up because Lenny would like it to have different levels. So let's use another four-sided shape here, a rectangle, and I'm going to do another one here and one more over here. Then let's put the second level on for Lenny. So let's do another rectangular shape here and another one here. Okay, now I'm thinking of something a bit different for the next level. This shape has 6 sides. Do you know what it could be? Hexagon. I'm going to do one hexagon here and let's do the other one. That's 1, 2, 3 sides, 4, 5, 6 sides there. Then on top of our hexagons, I'm going to do another rectangle. And let's finish off with something special on the top. What do we think? So this is my design. This is what I'm thinking for Lenny's tree house. My next job is to have a go at using three-dimensional shapes or objects to build a model. Okay, so I've got my three-dimensional objects here, but first I want to talk about some words that we will need when exploring and describing three-dimensional shapes. The first word is faces. Now, when we're talking about the faces of three-dimensional shapes, we're not talking about faces like this. We are talking about the face on the shape. So a face is a flat surface of a three-dimensional shape. So you can see on this three-dimensional shape, here is one face. It's a square shape. Three-dimensional shapes also have surfaces. So three-dimensional shapes are enclosed by surfaces which are either flat or curved. So the surfaces on this cylinder, we have two flat surfaces and one curved surface. Okay, so here's my design, and now I have to start building. So I can see that the base of my treehouse has squares. So I'm wondering which of my 3D shapes have a square on it. There's a couple, but I think I'm going to use these. So one of the faces are a square. Let's put these down as our base. Now, the first level or the floor here, I can see this face is a rectangle shape. So I'm thinking these would make a really good base. And can you see this face here is a rectangle? So let's put those on. Okay, that's a good start. Then we need some rectangles here. So I think these are going to be perfect. So let's put one here, just like in our design. Now we're up to our second level. So I'm going to use these same shapes here with our rectangle faces. Let's put one like that and the other like that. Okay, I hope Lenny likes this. Now let's move on to our hexagonal faces. Okay, now that's definitely not a hexagon shape there. That's a rectangle face. Let's go with these. If I turn them that way, we can see hexagonal faces. But on this shape, they're actually joined by rectangle faces. Let's put that like that with the rectangular shape on top. And finally, if I place this one here, we can see the triangle face. What do you think? I think Lenny will be pretty happy. Now I'm going to take a photo of this model and the plan for Lenny to give to the builders. Now your home task is to design a cubby house or a tree house for one of your toys. I'd like you to make a plan using two-dimensional shapes. Now if you have some blocks or Duplo or something at home, you might like to make a model of your cubby house as well. So in this lesson we learned about the difference between two and three-dimensional shapes. We know that two-dimensional shapes have sides, which are a line on the boundary joining one corner to another, like this. Two-dimensional shapes have corners, a place or angle where two sides meet, like this. Now we've learnt today that three-dimensional shapes have faces, not like this. Which faces on three-dimensional shapes are a flat surface of a three-dimensional shape, like this. Three-dimensional shapes are either enclosed by surfaces which are flat or curved. So today we made a plan of a treehouse using two-dimensional shapes. Then we use three-dimensional shapes to build a model. Now you can see that the two-dimensional shapes are flat. I can't pick them up, but the three-dimensional shapes, they have depth as well as height and width, so I can pick them up. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see you next time.